Hey everyone, this is Kyle from Money at 30, and if you watched my video last week, you may have noticed that I have a bit of a different setup here, not just facing a different wall, but the addition of this microphone. Truth be told, the microphone wasn't necessarily for my videos, although it does work for that, but actually for a podcast I'm planning to launch under the Money at 30 banner. So today I just want to give you a quick look at some of the equipment I picked up for the podcast and explain why I chose what I chose. Also, before we get started, I just want to let you know I'll have links to all of the different products on Amazon in the description box down below, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing I got is this Nywhere professional recording microphone stand, which is actually a boom arm, which connects to your desk and then holds your microphone so you can move it around. And this was only about $12 or $13. There are definitely much nicer ones on the market, but I decided to go on the low end, and I'll explain that a little bit more later. Then getting into the main event, I ended up picking up two Audio-Technica AT2020 microphones, and these are the XLR model. There's also a USB one, which runs a little bit more expensive. Each of these were $99. I ended up getting one in white and one in black. Inside, I already have the mics taken out because they are set up, but it was nice and protective with this foam here. And then you also got a cool carrying bag to put the microphone in. And it also came with a couple of other attachments here for different stands and things that you might need. So at the moment, not needing those, but good to know that I have them. The next couple things that I purchased came as a set. So I got this shock mount for the microphone as well as a pop filter, and together these were around $14. So again, not a huge expense. And then last but not least, since I went with the XLR microphones, I did pick up this Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. So basically what this allows you to do is insert both the XLR microphones, and it also has a monitor, and then it connects via USB to your computer that way. So I'll explain a little bit of why I went with that, but that's what I ended up with. So when you put it all together, I have the microphone in here, the pop filter, the shock absorber, the boom arm, and then that just connects to your desk. And then it connects from the XLR cable to the Scarlett, and then to the computer, which I don't have it plugged in at the moment. Something else I should note is if you got the USB version of the AT2020, I'm assuming that it would come with a USB cable to connect it right to your computer. However, the XLR version doesn't actually come with XLR cables. So I also grabbed a couple of these. These are 10 feet XLR cables that I got from Amazon, and they were about $7.50 each or so, I believe. But had to add a couple of those after I made my initial order, but luckily they were able to ship in the same box. So this is what the Scarlett looks like when it is all plugged in with both microphones. And then the USB cable goes over to first a dongle, because my MacBook only has USB-Cs, which is actually a factor in why I chose what I did. And then that goes into Audition. So as you can see on here, there are knobs for each individual microphone, and if I talk into it, you can see it flashing green. If you turn it up too loud and speak into it, it'll show you if you are clipping, which is also helpful. So each microphone has its own knob, and then you also have a monitor knob, and you can insert a 1/4 inch headphone there to monitor your sound. So one of the biggest decisions I had to make when deciding what gear I wanted was debating whether I wanted USB microphones or XLR. One of the problems is that the MacBook that I would mostly be recording on only has 2 USB ports. So if I was using 2 microphones, and that would take up both of those unless I was getting a splitter or something like that, and then I couldn't really charge the computer while I was recording. Additionally, while I've seen that there are ways to split the inputs on USB microphones to record in Premiere, so you're recording both microphones together, it seemed like kind of a hassle, quite honestly. So I decided to go the XLR route, even though it would mean having to get an audio interface. Ultimately, the setup did become a little bit more expensive because I needed the audio interface. However, I did end up saving about $30 to $50, depending on what the price was at the current time, on this style of microphone, choosing the XLR version versus the USB. So with the audio interface being $130, it was only a little bit more expensive to go this route than going the USB route for 2 microphones. Another reason I decided to go the audio interface route was because this 2i2 actually has a combo jack here. So you can use your XLR cables, but you can also fit in different guitar cables or things like that, which is actually going to come in handy for a project I'm going to be working on, recording some different music stuff. So all the things considered, it definitely made sense. So as I mentioned, I didn't want this setup to become too expensive, and so one of the areas where I decided that I could spend a little less was on this boom arm. So this was about $13, and when I was looking at reviews, one of the problems that they noted was that it has these springs, which when you pluck them not only shakes the microphone, but also, just creates audio. So the shock mount helps a little bit with that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'd realized that I'm only going to be moving this a little bit. So going with a $13 arm as opposed to a more professional grade one, which would go for about $100, just made the most sense for how I was going to be using it. So in terms of why I chose to get an arm instead of getting a regular mic stand, I kind of liked how, especially if I'm doing a podcast, I'll be able to like stand up or sit down or, move it a little further away from me, a little closer. I'll also listen as it gets further away from my mouth as compared to when it gets probably a little too close at this point. So I just like that flexibility, and even though that spring is there, it doesn't seem to get in the way too much. The other thing I should mention is with this model of mic, you do talk into the front of it and not to the top, or definitely not into the back, as I'll let you listen to what it sounds like if I turn it around. Luckily, it does say back on the back of the microphone and Audio Technica on the front, so hopefully you won't make that mistake. So for comparison, I'll first just use the onboard audio from the Sony RX100 Mark II. Then I'll switch over to the Purple Panda Lavalier, which I've been using since I first started making videos on YouTube, which I plug into my phone and then email the files over to my computer. And then lastly, I'll let you listen to the AT2020, which is plugged into the Scarlett 2i2 and to my MacBook recording on Audition. So considering that all this equipment for 2 microphones cost around $400, I'm pretty happy with what the setup I have as far as the podcasting. And an added bonus is that I'm able to use this audio for my videos and hopefully be able to use this audio interface for future projects such as recording guitars and voices and things like that. So overall, I think it was a good investment, and I'm kind of glad. It says weird to say that I cheaped out on the boom arms and stuff, but like I said, I think it's just makes sense for the setup I was going for and my level of professionalism, which is not very high. So anyway, I'm curious to know what you think of this new setup, what you think of this microphone as you're hearing it. If you have any experience with yourself, I'd love to hear about that. So leave a comment and let me know. Also, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe because we have new videos every week. So thank you all so much for watching this, and I will see you next time here on Money at 30.